been a long time since we've done a podcast together. Long time. You were number one back.
Yeah.
I think it's almost 10 years ago, honestly.
Oh, man, I don't even want to think about it.
It's almost a decade. I think Bradley G-Monk was sending me a text, I think, because he was episode 2. And I think it was about 10 years ago. That's crazy.
Man, that is crazy.
We just did a trip together, which was,
Yep.
It was fucking amazing.
So awesome.
So awesome. Like full nerd town. Giggles, driving the Raptor around, shooting.
Yeah.
Incredible footage.
Basically spending like the entire day, all day, every day, taking footage.
Yeah. Like we were
photos and footage.
We were fully in our element. You remember I told you the first day we went out and we capturing that epic fog and the lake rising and all that stuff. And I was saying, I looked at you and I said, I think this is my religion.
Totally.
A spiritual moment. I was like
100%. Yeah, 100%. It feels that way. It feels like when you're out there, you're getting in touch with nature in a way that, we forget about. Just love it. And I know you do too. And just when you start photographing it, capturing it, it's like you have that photo of me that is hilarious, by the way, where it's like, yeah, I'm fishing, dude. I'm legit fishing, but we're fishing for images, right? We're just out there and we're waiting to capture something, but it feels like we're legitimately fishing and it's like a fishing trip.
It was a fishing trip, basically a 5-day trip. When we were doing this, it was kind of a spiritual reset for both of us. Both you and I are very intense with our lives. We have a lot going on. We're very focused and we have so much happening. So we were like, let's take some time away from all of this chaos and like, let's hang out and let's shoot. And that was incredible. And a part of that trip was like, are you going to start the podcast up again? You had talked to me about it. And
we're walking up a hill.
Amongst many things.
I'm walking up a hill and I was like, yo, man, you going to do that again?
It was like the symbolism here is great. And I explained to you like why I stopped doing it. But you've always been, there to support the idea of doing it. And you've always been in my corner as a champion, as I have for you. And I think that's really an important part of life, is having friends that are in your corner, pushing you and supporting you. And so a lot of what I'm doing now, again, coming back to the podcast, considering, I made a whole video where I've explained where there's no strings attached. I'm not sure how long I'm going to do it, how frequent it's going to be, but it's going to be a natural thing. And sometimes I do single episodes by myself. And sometimes I bring my incredible friends on to talk about their lives and passions to share. But yeah, so we're here because you had mentioned that we're supporting it. And so thank you. So there you go, everybody. And that's it.
I brought it back.
You did. Yeah. But we had such an incredible time, and we talked a lot about many, many things, because, when we're doing a road trip like that, a 5-day trip where we're intense and we're shooting and we have a schedule and all this stuff, but we talked a lot about like your process, what you had gone through. Since the last episode, you've directed 2 films. One of them is Our House.
Really? Did we talk after Our House, or did we talk before?
Actually, I think was it released yet? I think I can't remember.
I can't remember either. So we've talked twice on the podcast.
I should have listened to that episode before this one.
Yeah, we should have prepped. Sorry, everybody. And whether it's before or after, since we last talked, 2 features have come out with my name on it. Only one of them is a feature that I enjoy. And it's not because the performers or anybody who helped me get it made did anything wrong. It's that it was what I call the ultimate mismatch.
What do you mean by that?
I mean that when you get handed a Hollywood deal and you get that golden ticket that you've dreamed of since you were a poor kid, living in some, terrible place, and you get that golden ticket.
Paint a little picture here for people that don't know you, know your path, like, because I know some of your stories, like, you coming up.
Both of us started with very little, and single parents, and not a lot of resources, and so the dreams that we have of being, who we are a lot further to get to. And so you have to do a lot of extra stuff because, let's face it, these kinds of industries require dollars. And when you don't have them, you have to devote yourself to getting those things. And so, yeah, it wasn't it wasn't a quick or easy road to get to where we are.
And we're
and
still
so-
on it. We're kind of like,
and we're still on it, and it never ends, and it's
Yeah.
getting, and it's always shifting. You know, entertainment industry is kind of hilarious right now.
It's shifted so much.
It's shifted so much.
So much.
And COVID has shifted it even more. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. That's great. If I do this, I'm taking notes and I'm
It's just hit my new cool mic here.
I asked Anthony to have the best mic possible, so we have delicious audio. Yeah,
so that I can sound like a good radio host. But yeah, so when I finally did get my golden ticket, which by the way is a film called Our House, I had a number of films I was attached to, but the only one that sort of ended up getting financing was one called Our House, and I had rewritten it. It was a script by Nathan Parker based on another feature film, and I really liked the premise, and I wanted to give it a lot more heart, and so I said I would do it, even though it wasn't really, how do I put this? It's not my dream film, but it was a movie, and it was getting made, and it was because I had rewritten it with a friend. We'd put a lot of really personal moments in it, and so I saw all the good in that project. And while filming it, it was a joy. Well, most of it was working with the performers. I did have one Mulholland Drive moment, which I won't get into, which is, if you haven't seen the film, there's a scene where they say, "This is the girl." And I had one of those moments on that, and I had the exact same reaction as the director that, in the film, which is, "There's no fucking way." And then, but I have no power. So yeah. And ultimately everything went well until the edit. Right. And I saw that I really, as a filmmaker, even though I had gone on this really long journey to get here, and it was a dream come true to be on set and to be directing and doing all those things. It was that moment where you realize that the business is a business, right?
Yeah.
And
it's a money machine, a money maker.
Yeah, it's a money machine. And that dream of the kind of movie I wanted to make was not the dream of the people who had put their dollars in. But see, I didn't know that. And no one told me that. And the people that I was dealing with said, "Oh yeah, this is your creative thing. And this can be your passion project." And I did a lot of things for free because of that. You know, and that was my I guess my fault is I shot the film. I was the DOP, and I did VFX and all this other stuff.
And production design and
yes. Well, no, I had a production designer on that one. So we'll get to that later. But
sure.
So I had a full crew for Our House. It was a real movie.
You also starred in it as the little girl in the bathtub too.
Yeah.
And the creepy guy too. Just kidding.
But
Cameos, baby.
yeah. But ultimately, you know, like I said, I realized that it was the ultimate mismatch of the people who had put their money in didn't know that there was some guy out here trying to make this emotional tone piece. They thought they were getting Insidious.
Yeah. Definitely different. Yeah.
Totally different, right?
Yeah.
Had I made the handshake early on that we were making Insidious, that's one thing. You know, I'm not going to disparage those kinds of films, but it was one of those things where no one told me we were making Insidious. And so
kind of important to tell the director.
Joke. It was a joke. This is the best part, is that people, I think my friend Howard,
Howard helped you out in that too, right?
Yeah, Howard and Nick.
Yeah.
So they've been with me throughout all. Yeah, since Manifold.
Such sweeties. Yeah. Manifold is one of your first kind of like short films that you used as a thing that you wrote, you directed, you shot. Had McHattie in there. It was wonderful, and this is what kind of sparked.
And that was like the first thing we worked on together, too.
That's right. Yeah. This is back in the day. The robot thing. Yeah. Yeah, and some of the UI.
We had Jacob on there too, helping with the design too.
That's right, Jacob. Yeah, such a flashback.
Shout out to Jacob.
Yeah, if you listen to past episodes, you can kind of track what's happening here. So, but if you're new to what Anthony does, this is going to make sense. So,
yeah, and what I do is I try to make movies for as little as I can, so that I can hold as much power as possible.
That's the way to do it.
That's the basic idea.
That's the rule.
And it's not because I feel any sort of way about collaborating. It's that, and I've said this to Ash many times, I want the films to feel like they have huge budgets and I have the best teams available, but I don't have the dollars to spend on the best teams available. And increasingly so, the business doesn't have the dollars to spend on the best people.
Yeah.
Only the best people get sucked into,
Disney.
Disney.
Marvel.
Yeah.
They have the money.
Yes, exactly.
Nothing tough. I'm not trying to fault them. It's
Again,
just the business.
we're not disparaging it. It's a business, right?
Yeah.
If I just did a seminar at a film fest, and basically it was great. It was great.
Yeah.
But
did you
the
do
basic
the whole
idea there,
film thing that you were explaining? Did you do the whole film? Nice.
Yeah. It went really, really well, and I made sure it wasn't recorded so that I could actually give the people of that community some leg up.
What was it called? What was the thing called?
The Secrets of Modern Filmmaking. Oh, what was the film fest?
Yeah, the film fest.
It was the Chilliwack Independent Film Festival.
Oh wow, very bespoke then. Okay.
Oh yeah. And I love this film fest, by the way, because I went out there to that. It's in British Columbia, and I was invited out there because they wanted to show Come True. We're going all over the place here with the podcast now.
Yeah, sorry,
but
everybody.
Sorry, he's asking questions.
We'll go back to our house. Yeah.
But yeah, this film fest. What I loved about it was it was scrappy. And everyone who was there was like really, really down to do things, however it took.
Those
it wasn't, exactly. It wasn't about, how many crew members you have or the, what awards you won or anything. It's like, just get out there and make things. And so I wanted to give them a bunch of reality doses that are sometimes depressing, but also really empowering. Because the thing about this is that if you can learn as many tools and get as good as you can, then you don't have anybody telling you can't do it.
Yeah.
You've learned that.
Yeah.
I've learned that. And as technology, gets better and better, it makes it easier for us artists to create things with less dollars at stake.
Yeah. There's a more through line from your soul to your audience. Yeah.
Yeah. And the less dollars you have at stake, the less there is to risk. And then you don't have to worry about being safe. Because being safe is what causes us to get bored with media.
Yeah.
Safe media is boring.
Yeah.
All of our favorite movies were hated when they came. Well, most of them were hated when they came out because they were so fresh. It was scary. Like Blade Runner is so fresh it's scary. 2001 is so fresh it's scary.
Yeah.
The Thing is so fresh it's scary. And all those movies they were blessed to be made, because now it would be near impossible to get any of those through.
Think about trying to make like Beetlejuice or something.
Man, good luck.
Yeah. But that's the fight that they had to make too. I'm sure they had a battle.
Definitely.
Every filmmaker that's ever made anything has had a battle.
Yes. I talk about the big change though is the captive audience, right? Is when a studio is making hand over fist like they were in the 80s, a little thing like Beetlejuice can come in under the radar and get made.
Yeah.
I recently found out, that like most of David Lynch's movies have never made any money. I didn't know that.
You didn't know that? I mean, that makes sense though.
It does make sense.
So obscure, and they have such a niche audience.
Like they keep getting made, so there must be some back end to that, right? And you go, well, actually, no. The reason they got made is they're prestige pieces, and it's the same thing as a lot of the award season stuff. They're prestige pieces for the studios, but they aren't the big breadwinners, right?
Well, yeah, it
but
makes sense.
Without that captive audience of home video and theatrical, with everything spread out, and let's face it, everybody pirates now. How do you
streams?
How do you make dollars? And the streamers don't pay very much for your films either. Anyway, so getting back to Our House, the whole point is it was the ultimate mismatch. And I wanted to make a movie so badly that I think I missed some things.
Yeah, I remember that. You were so eager and so pumped. And I think you had, those glossy eyes for it, which is wonderful because you're like, oh man, I finally get to be a director. I've worked so hard. I've checked all my boxes.
And I have people telling me I'm going to be able to make the movie I want.
Yeah.
But what I didn't realize is that the business aspect of that is that they always say that.
Yeah,
they probably said that to Fincher. Oh, they probably said that to Fincher in Alien 3. Yeah. You're totally going to. And exactly. Same exact thing, right?
Yeah.
So,
And you can't really fault them for that either, because they're in the business to make movies.
Oh, they saw the potential. Actually, I see it as a positive, is that they thought this movie was going to be, I think a lot smaller and worse than it was. And so it wouldn't really matter. But when we started to see the dailies and we started to see how great Thomas and the kids were, Percy and Kate, that whole core family, when they saw the dailies on that stuff, they got excited and they were like, oh, I think we can make this into something big. And a side joke is remember we got to the Howard part. The Howard part is that he recorded me saying to them one day, there will not be any smoke monsters in this movie. I'm so sick of ghosts being this fluttery smoke. It's not scary. And so I devised doing the sort of dark shadows that we've sort of become enamored with.
The sleep paralysis.
Yes.
Things that we see universally in our darkest nightmares. If you're listening and you've had sleep paralysis, is what it's called, right? The technical term.
Yeah.
When you're sleeping and you wake up in sleep and you look up and there's a dark figure completely void of any light and it's got glowing eyes, it's usually the case, and you can't move, and it's just
it's because your body it's a condition where you wake up before your body has released the chemicals that basically you get paralyzed when you're sleeping so that you don't act out your dreams. And when there's a problem there and there's a disconnect, all of a sudden you wake up, but you can't move. And for whatever reasons, we're going into sleep paralysis.
Well, this is going to lead into come true eventually.
You see these shadowy creatures. And from off to me was like I wanted to test to see how it would look, right? Can we do it? And then
Franklin character.
The Franklin character. And that right away, that was what I was like, okay, that's how the ghosts are going to look in our house.
When Anthony says off too, sorry for those that are listening, we did a title sequence together. And it was for Off Barcelona like 7 years ago or something like that.
Probably more.
It was a really fun voyage up into the Pacific Northwest, and just a really kind of a special project for us both, and kind of a spiritual thing we look to often.
And it was also I'm sure we've talked about this on the podcast before. It was kind of a middle finger to motion graphics at the time.
So at the time there was a lot of like motion graphics and stuff has a tendency to build itself on trends, and those trends are built on tutorials and an ecosystem of sharing, which is wonderful. But what you get from a lot of that is the creatives aren't thinking outside of the tutorial. They're going, okay, cool. Like, you show me the A to B points and I can click those buttons, but I'm not thinking independently. That's derivative. That's boring. We weren't really interested in that. So we were like, we're not even going to do any of those kind of things, because we had done the FITC Tokyo title, and that was like, I can't remember which was before. I think
Off was first.
And then it was like, okay, we did the movie thing. Now let's go full ham into the motion graphic stuff and really make a statement. Like, this is what I consider to be motion graphics. Like, this is full kinetic, So, but that was, I guess it was, because it was like a title sequence that was like a 10 minute
at that time, everybody expected Ashthorpe was going to do some person going, that's what they expected of the titles. And it's like,
we made art together though. And it was,
but the best thing was when we showed Hector, he loved it. Like, it was so cool that he appreciated that we had done something not expected. And since that, I think a lot of people have done sort of short film type openings Off,
which is really cool. It's opened up the gates, I think, which was really wonderful.
To just not do what people expect you to do, and also
have the balls to do it. We were pretty scared of that too, honestly. People's reactions to that.
I wasn't.
I was.
I just don't care, and I think that's my.
You're ahead of me, though.
No, I just love that. I love that because as someone who likes to create stuff, I cared for way too long, and it really hurt me. It hurt me to care about stuff. Like, when you would be working on stuff and trying to manifest art to impress. It's the worst. It feels terrible.
It's a bad fuel. It's a high octane fuel, but it doesn't last long. It burns you out. And then you're just like, what the fuck do I have left? I have nothing left. No one cares about me, even myself.
No one cares about me. Yeah. I haven't created enough bleepy blurps. Yeah, it's like,
is that what you call fine art? Bleepy blurps?
No, that's what I call UI. Bleepy blurps. It's like it's like you can get to the point where, because I was deep in MoGraph for many years.
Yeah.
Like what was that?
Well, there was kind of bread and butter for both of us for a while there.
Yeah, like I'm like old school MoGraph.net.
Wow.
Like, yeah, man.
Dial up, like, AOL disk style.
Yeah, no, seriously. MoGraph.net. That's where I was creating stuff, and you know, the people I looked up to back in the old days, like Renaissance. I don't know if you remember that.
No.
Oh, there were some gnarly people out there doing stuff in 3DS and stuff, and it was just really great stuff. But I think personally, I got way into the impression, this creating stuff to impress, so that you could have a show reel, so that you could get a great job. You know, that's what I mean. Listen, it's that poor kid thing again. I just want to get a job, and I'm so excited to do this, and I want to do this art, and I love doing it.
Yeah.
But I was still doing things, probably disingenuously.
Yeah, I think we all do in the beginning, especially what you say. It's like because we're told what we think the world wants of us. It's almost like in that Fight Club scene where he's sitting in the bathtub and he's talking to Tyler and he's saying like, you know, and I went to my dad and I said, hey, I went to college. And he's like, well, and then he's like, what next? And he's like, well, no, have a family. And he's like, you know, it's like, if you don't know what you're doing and what you should be doing, that's a problem. You need to know who you are, what you're doing, and move forward through life and with that intention.
How to read what your heart is telling you to do.
That's really a real hard thing. Yeah. You're one of my closest friends that I know is a definitive artist. When I think of artists, I think of you. And I think in the case of not in the, you know, like I'm an artist. I think of it more of you're very staunch in your belief of following your vision. You've gone through enough where you're just like, no, this is what I believe in. This is what I want. And it's a pillar. It's something I admire. I think, you know, it's a rare
even
thing.
When I know it's wrong. Even when I know it's wrong. And that's the rough
that's
part.
Dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah. So our house, obviously, you know, I quit that movie, which in Hollywood is not done.
Because when you do that, you basically burn everything.
Basically the way that movie was financed, it was financed under these packages that William Morris did at the time, which actually, I guess it came out later that this was kind of like a not cool thing to do, these kinds of packages. But
what do you mean by packages? So
what they do is they put, you know, I'm a William Morris director. They get William Morris cast. They get William Morris writers, and so it's like this ecosystem of all their clients working, and then they finance it. So
that's cool. It's like a package deal.
It's a package deal, but what it means is it's all their people, right?
Yeah.
Whereas maybe it's not necessarily the best people for the job sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, but they did these anyways, and they would sort of push these packages. But so I was let go by my agent. I was let go by my management because they had to, because they can't represent someone who's willing to tell people to do. Can we swear in this podcast?
You can say whatever the fuck you want.
We can say whatever we want. We can do whatever we want.
It's a free country here, at least for now.
It's the ghost tour.
Maybe it'll change by the time we're done with this episode. You're peaking a little bit too.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna back off a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm peaking.
Yeah, I'm trying to control it here. I'm watching it.
I just turned it down.
Okay.
I know.
See. Go ahead.
I need a compressor on this thing.
Yeah, compressor would help. Yeah. But okay. So you're saying they have package deals. You quit the film. So like in the beginning, because the film was developed, written by somebody else. You came in, rewrote the script. Everything in the film starts with a script, obviously. Yeah. Well, it starts with an idea and a director's vision, and then the script kind of manifests itself. But that's the thing everybody builds on. That's where budgets and casting and all that stuff happens. And then you went from that and went out and directed the film, put it all together, and then you did an edit of that film, did you not?
Yeah, I did a cut of the film, and it was one that I was very proud of, and it actually really, really moved people. But it wasn't overtly scary.
Yeah.
The fear was existential, which I love. That's the kind of thing. And the problem, I think, with the kind of horror that I've always wanted to create, whether, you know, it was Our House or people had seen my earlier short Father's Day from the anthology Holidays, they're not overt horror, right? They're not like jump scare things. They're like I said, I call them existential, where you feel an emotional horror, where I'm trying to mine the feelings that make you scared.
Yeah. If Rob Zombie's over here on the left, you're all the way on the right of Rob Zombie.
well, maybe, I don't know.
What, you think you and Rob Zombie are on the level?
Oh yeah, man. I've always wanted to have dreads. I just couldn't grow them.
Talk about dreads. Okay, I'm not trying to bash on Rob Zombie too, by the way.
I've always wanted to drive into Dragula. I don't know. The point is that it's I know.
So stupid.
I know. Sorry.
At one point, I'm going to make you do the Arnold voice. Okay, continue.
Great. Yeah, we can talk about that. One of Ash's ideas for Off Barcelona was that.
This is great.
We do our entire
good of a friend I am.
Our entire talk in the Arnold Schwarzenegger voice. I was like, do you really?
Anthony does a great Arnold voice. Is why.
Do you think that that's honestly something we should do?
Yeah,
that would have just destroyed, right?
It would have.
Maybe.
Probably not. But yeah.
So where were we? We're talking about like, yeah,
your edit versus the edit that was then taken over.
So I made a movie, shot a movie, we rewrote a movie. It was a real movie. It had a budget, it had a crew, and I had Hollywood representation, and I was getting scripts left, right, and center, and I was even almost attached to a big Will Smith thing, and I had the thing with Brad Pitt, and so all these really cool things happening.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, I made a cut of my film that was very emotional and didn't have those jump scares and smoke ghosts and things that people are used to. But they knew that if they just changed my edit a little bit, added smoke ghosts, and cut out some of the heart, they could make something that was far more sellable than my version.
Mm-hmm.
And so, or at least they thought so. I didn't think so. I thought, the version I'm doing will actually play to audiences better.
Yeah. Also the strengths of the film that you had captured.
And ultimately when Our House came out, people saw that. Like if you read the reviews, it was like it feels like this was a real movie, and then there's just jump scares and smoke ghosts. And so it was rough. It was rough to watch that and have that happen.
That was a hard time for you too. I remember having to talk with you a lot.
Yeah, I pretty much quit making movies.
Yeah,
which is in my mind. In my mind, I had quit. I was.
You've done that a couple times, and
I've done that a couple times,
and it's mainly because it's disheartening. I think for you, because you are an artist, when I look at the film industry as we see it now, it's like, and I totally understand the way it is, and I'm not trying to look at it in a bad way, but it's gun for hire, work for hire kind of thing. Like, hey, this person wrote a script. Do you want to be hired as a contractor to facilitate this script? And there's no heart involved in a lot of the times. And you see it in the work, unless you see something really special. And there's a lot of special films that are being made. We are always talking about them. Like I just had a great time.
I just had a great time at the movies.
The Menu, right?
The Menu. Yeah. It's a great time at the movies for all.
Okay,
Go see The Menu.
Okay.
It is the closest thing to a film not from America, made by Americans.
That's cool.
It is like it feels, for an American studio film, it is not what they typically serve.
Good. Wonderful. And should support that then.
Yeah.
I'll go watch that in the theater and give them some money.
It felt great.
Yeah. Give them the ticket money.
Yes.
We were talking about another film that's a foreign film, The Worst Person in the World. And I absolutely adored that film. I thought it was quite wonderful. And it was like such a unique film, such an auteur film, such a specific film. And it's a film that, I would never even know about it. Did you tell me to watch it? I think I just found it. I can't figure out.
Remember. Nick told me to watch it.
It's
so maybe I said I just watched it or whatever, but it really, really, yeah. Again, these are movies that are about something. Yeah. And I think that's the hardest thing, because when someone in Hollywood, typically, I don't want to disparage it, because
there's still good stuff coming out there.
There's good stuff coming out of there.
It's an 80-20, so 20% coming out. It's like,
but mostly when I have meetings and I talk with people and I say the movie is about something emotional or a person's journey, they don't care.
Yeah.
They're more
That's weird.
interested in what the plot is
Yeah.
and what the hook is going to be that they can sell it with. And I get that,
Mhm.
but I don't get it also because
Yeah.
a hook without, I use
It's
this
like the
exact,
soul disconnecting from the body. It's like, what the hell? Yeah.
I use this exact analogy when creating something. And this is a good thing to think about is when I was growing up and I was watching Twilight Zone episodes, Rod Serling would use genre to explore ideas.
Yeah. That's what.
So the
it is.
ideas are the important part, and the genre is there as a gateway to let us in. And that's how I learned how to make things. Like the art is a gateway to letting people in, but you're leading them into something that hopefully has some sort of emotional value,
Mhm. You would
right?
hope. Yeah.
You hope.
Yeah.
Now it seems like it's sort of inverted where I don't know if it's due to fandom or merchandising or whatever. Now it's ideas are there to explore the genre.
Yeah. It's
It's
inverted.
inverted. It's completely inverted. So it's like people are getting more interested in, I think I said like, who the fourth owner of, the deed of Hogwarts was. Like people are so into like the weird minutia,
Yeah.
but that means nothing to humanity.
Yeah. It doesn't contribute to the goal. And I think, when I think back, like, let's look at like where we come from as a species.
Mm-hmm.
We lack long-term memory. So we created music. Music was a device to continue songs of survival, ways to protect yourself. And then that became a commodity like everything else when we evolved past things. Films and movies, we needed a new term for them because they're no longer really these things anymore. We don't really shoot with film anymore. They're not really movies. I guess they're moving, but they're not, they're different now. Yeah. It's evolved into a different thing with the streaming thing and how things are consumed on a binging way. And you really think back about why we do the things we do. Mm-hmm. I think it's to authentically connect with one another spiritually.
Yes.
And that is when you're really doing it at the highest level, which is so difficult to do because you're saying to the world, hey, I'm vulnerable. I'm opening up. And I'm weird.
I'm weird. Yeah, I'm weird.
And who's weird with me? And it's like, you get like one person in the crowd and you're like, well, come along. And then, we've
been blessed, that's the only thing actually that keeps me making things is we've been blessed to have people reach out and tell us that they enjoy the work, even when it doesn't hit a massive audience.
We know that though. We're not making these things to I think we've talked about this, and this was one thing we, talked at great length on our road trip together, is we talked a lot about that spiritual disconnection and reconnection to this thing that we love and hate to do, which is making art and making films because it's so difficult, or movies or whatever, however you want to call it. But yeah. So, okay. So the Our House thing, before we switch over to Come True, give me a fond memory that comes to mind when it comes to making, building, and creating Our House. A memory that just like you're just going to hold forever and you love it, and it's a gem.
Okay, this is a weird one. So one night, so Thomas Mann, the
lead, right?
The lead, yeah. He was also the lead in the movie Project X, the party movie. And there was a moment when we all went out for drinks, and we decided to crash this small local bar in Port Hope, Ontario, where we were shooting. We found this town that was perfect. And in fact, after we shot there, they shot Stephen King's It there because it's such a perfect small town vibe. Yeah, it's so perfect. And in fact, when I saw it, the producers were like, you're going to make us go all the way out there? I was like, it's so good. We have to go out there.
Yeah, all the production values there.
It's all there. The whole town is there.
Yeah.
Anyway, so with this small town bar, we went out for drinks and hit this karaoke. And then at one point, some guy goes, "Oh my God, is that the guy from Project X?" And everyone goes, "Yeah!" And the whole bar erupted and started going nuts. Like it was like one of those moments from a movie in real life.
Inside of a movie while making a movie.
Yes, it was so good. It was
Project
so good. Yeah.
X.
Yeah, you got to look up Project X. It's like one of those like moments where life imitated art, imitated life.
Wonderful. Oh, it's got It's got some dudes in there, some famous dudes in there.
Some famous dudes.
I'm so horrible with names, but so it's like a comedy movie.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a comedy about I think it's about a house party. I've actually seen it.
You haven't seen it?
No. Yeah. The reason I hired Thomas was I saw Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl, and he was so terrific that I was like, this guy's in. He's in.
Awesome.
I want him. Yeah.
And you guys still keep in touch somewhat?
Yeah, on Instagram.
Yeah. Instagram buds. Send them a couple of fail bro videos.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
Some corgi videos.
You always, when you find great performers and actors, you always want to work with them again. But sometimes, the part isn't right. And it's like, luckily for people like Lynch, he's always sort of made protagonists that fit the mold for Kyle MacLachlan. But it's very rare. I don't think I'm that type of person where I always just have a very similar character in mind to plug people in. But you always want to work with people who you get along with, and I got along wonderfully with Thomas and then Julia on Come True and Landon. It was all I Percy, all the cast members. Kate, they were just
his young brother was outstanding too.
Percy, yeah, I'm talking to him right now.
He was great.
Yeah, I'm talking to him right now.
He's actually this. You're great.
Yeah, Percy, you're great. He's actually he's got a big role in the new Tim Burton series for Netflix.
Good for him.
He had
awesome. A lot of I saw when watching him do his thing. I felt like I could tell that he's really growing into who he's becoming, which is really cool. Yeah, it's cool to see, art, being an actor is, I'm learning a lot through just working with them, but it's a whole different approach. It's like you are on the line, you're so much more exposed, and it's really vulnerable place to be. So you can I kind of can understand why actors they go wild, because it's like, it's them, and that's a vulnerable place to be. It's not easy. To do it
well, you have to go there.
And you have to go there on demand, and it's not like some kind of.
It doesn't mean you're not feeling those feelings.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing.
You're living it. That when you're writing scripts, I think we both talked about that. You've written way more, but when you write a script and let's say the subject matter is dark, I mean, you're in a dark place. You have to act like the person that's doing it because that's how you write it. That's how you get it out.
I just wrote a script. I just wrote a script where there's a lot to do with suicide, and I had to put in my own thoughts, and that's scary.
Yeah, that's no good.
It's scary.
Yeah, because you're going to thread the line, and you're like,
but in order for it to be authentic and to be respectful, I have to go there.
You have to come from within. I think always. I don't know how somebody could write something significant that comes from outside. I mean, if that's the point, but if you're trying to make something that's relatable, then you need to come from within yourself and then share that. But I don't know how other people do it.
By the numbers, if you're not doing it, not doing it from the heart,
it doesn't work anymore though. It
doesn't work. It doesn't work. People
because the cat in the tree thing and the whole hero's journey. It's like, dude, it's so exhausted. We're tired of it. It worked in the beginning. We're like, oh, cool. This feels like stories of old, but it still works. Star Wars and cool. But when that story is told over so many times and the everything's mixed and matched, you're like, dude, okay, let's have something new and unique. And that's really hard to do. So that's a great memory. That's awesome. When that kind of that dream kind of imploded. Because let's say it imploded. Yeah. You were like, I'm not having this. This is not my thing. I don't want to be a part of it. I'm out. Which is, again, I think of you as an artist. Which I blame
movies for, actually, because the movie Repo Man it lives in my brain. And
that's a very weird film.
Every time someone says something to me I don't like, I'm like, fuck you. It's that is, and that was my reaction, and it was probably not the best one, but it was my reaction.
Yeah, well, take it or leave it. It's what you did, and that's where it is. And you can't live with these kind of things. It's just it's probably better that you lived your path.
No,
talk a lot about that, the 100%. Path of life. It's like
100%.
Yeah, because you could live a compromised life, and then what are you doing? You might as well just go work at a studio or do whatever if you're just doing it by the numbers. I don't know. I don't see the point in that.
I would definitely be
Suicidal.
richer.
Yeah.
We said at the same time, richer, suicidal. Yeah. Hand in hand.
Yeah, you definitely have more money, but yeah,
Yes.
it's like you'd have some money, but you'd be sad.
You remember what I would say to you when I was like going over Eminem's commercials?
That shit made me laugh so hard, dude. I love that.
I was a creative director at a place for a while.
Yeah,
and,
good place.
It was a great place.
Yeah, good people.
But ultimately, I had to be. The reason I left wasn't because I didn't enjoy the people I was working with. The reason I left was because I left out of duty. It's like I don't feel good being in this position that someone else should have who really cares about M&Ms.
Yeah, and cares about doing that job. No, for real, because there's people out there like, I want to make this perfect shader and I want to animate this thing, and like that's
I care about perfect shaders.
Yeah,
just not on
M&Ms. All right, well.
I don't. For me personally, I it actually it goes into this. I don't even know the full quote, but I don't. Let's not even get into what Elon Musk is doing. But
I don't follow it, so
I don't. Yeah. Let's not even get into it. But he did say something that was like, why would you have engineers trying to solve problems that shouldn't even be there in the first place? And that's how I feel about a lot of marketing.
Yeah,
like a great example is like
that's just fussy business.
Yeah, like Cheese Whiz. Like, oh, let's go spend like $2 million on the new Cheese Whiz campaign. Or how about you just come up with something better than Cheese Whiz?
And this is where the Asperger's comes in full force, baby. Because your logical brain is like, why are you humans so stupid?
Yeah, you're still sitting there going, but if we spend a couple more million, maybe it'll bring up, more people when eat Cheese Whiz again. It's like, no, people are fucking done with Cheese Whiz.
Yeah. No, please don't be fucking around with Cheese Whiz no more. We're in 2023 almost. That should have been dead. It should be like a niche
thing where it's like, oh, I want to taste what it tasted like in the old days and put a little bit on a spoon. You have some, and that's it. It should not be a thing that people are eating.
No, dude.
Yeah. And so it always blew me away how many times I would be doing commercials that were where it's like you're spending all this money to sell something that no one needs.
So disingenuous.
And so it's best for me to not be there because I will not be happy.
Yeah. Well, again, back to what I say and what I really firmly believe as knowing you is that you're truly your own self, independently. You fall on your own sword style. Like it's like, this is what I believe in. This is my conviction. I will be poor or I will be wealthy. It doesn't matter. I want to do what I want to do. That's really, it's a really rare trait. It honestly is. I think it's
that's the Asperger's. Well, we don't call it Asperger's anymore. It's just
what?
ASD. Apparently, people don't want to differentiate between the different things on the autism spectrum. So
how about the Bergs? We'll just call you the Bergs.
Not the Bergs. But my particular brand of autism is no longer Asperger's.
Don't let people do that to you. Just say whatever the hell you want, man. Yeah, come on.
I've got the crooked pinkies.
Yeah, the crooked pinkies.
There they are.
Yeah, I got straight boys. Yes.
Yeah. You don't got the Bergs, man.
No, and it was a funny story. When we first were hanging out and talking, you told me about that you had Asperger's. And I looked into it, and I started seeing some of the things. I was like, hey, I have some of these things, and I told my wife, and she's like, no, you're just an ass. Like you
don't have the burgers.
You don't have the burgers part. Yeah, which is perfect, and that's actually true. So I tried to use it though. I was like, damn it.
You tried.
Yeah, I tried. I don't have the crooked pinkies. No. Okay, so the implosion of our house.
Career implodes. What do I do after? And also dream implodes because you go, it's not how I thought it was. It's not how I expected it to be. It's like
two words that are bad right there: expectations and thought. You can't you can have thought, but you can't expect anything, right? That's one thing we've really talked about. It's like you just can't expect anything of the world other than yourself, and the only control you can have is of the world to yourself. Like you can't control the world, but you can react. You can control that energy of like, I'm going to be mad about this, or no, I'm going to let it go. Yeah. And it's all about energy control, basically. Right.
Yeah. And as you're older, you just lose the mad.
No, it's there, but it's like you control it. You put in other things.
Exactly. How you engage with that rage.
Yeah. Because I don't think it's good to stuff it down. That's where serial killers come from. Yeah. And you don't want that. Yeah. Because if you try to compartmentalize and control your rage and put it into a box, it's like, good luck. I say, let it out. We talked about this. I said, I like to have, when I get really pissed, I go, okay, well, I'm going to be really fucking pissed right now for about a minute. I'll be really angry.
Oh yeah.
And then I'm going to give myself a minute. And after that, well, let it go, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. You still, you know, are you happy now? What did that give you? Nothing.
But that's, you know, that's the other thing is discipline, right? Discipline allows you to build those tools. And as you get older, and that's why you start to like yourself a little bit more every year.
Yeah.
Because the confidence and discipline that you sort of achieve give you the ability to navigate those emotions in a way that actually can serve you. Yeah. And so what I did, obviously, from that experience of our house was I said to some friends of mine, like, producer friends, how much money would I need in order to never be sort of messed with? And so they gave me a number. And so we devised a way to make a movie for that number. So that, not because I didn't want input, but because, you know, we take input, but it's that sort of thing of having to take the input. It's a different thing than, you know, I would love to hear what you guys think. I don't want to go out there and Lucas myself. you don't want to George Lucas yourself. You want to have people that sounding boards and
you need that.
Show things. You need it.
Yeah.
Listen, there are moments.
You're not trying to make a Clone Wars.
Yeah. No. You're not. You want people to tell you it's garbage so that you can actually make.
That's what made Star Wars good. Is all his friends were like, "This is garbage. We'll fix it and help you."
Yeah.
He was like,
"We'll help you fix it." Yeah. Thanks, Brian De Palma, for writing the opening crawl.
Yes, De Palma wrote the crawl, and his wife at the time helped edit, and it was And not to say that George wasn't a savage beast at the time and managed to make this thing happen, but his friends helped him.
Definitely. Yeah. People had input and it helped him. And so I'm exactly like that. But what you don't want to be in a position of is you have to change this completely from your original vision. It's no longer that, and you have no control.
That's no fair.
Oh, it's no good.
Yeah.
And so we from the ashes of our house, we decided to go and with the help
not me, ashes. Just the burnt down wood,
actual burnt
of the
ashes.
house.
We took that and threw that rage into, okay, we'll show you how to make a movie. You know, we'll show you how to make a movie with, you know, very little resources, and we'll do a great job. Yeah, and return to sort of the things we were doing anyways.
Let's talk about Come True, because this was, and I love that segue. It's a perfect way to kind of think about taking something that was a bad experience and then going, well, all right, let's pick up pick it up and get going again, and using what worked and leaving what didn't, and then finding a way. You almost died on this production, so it's not healthy.
You can't do it a lot.
No,
you can't do it a lot, but
it's not healthy. It's not sustainable.
You can do it. It's not sustainable, but you can do it. And if you feel really passionate about something and you really want to see it through, I recommend it. And there's a kind of catharsis on the other side of making a movie the way we did, where it feels good to achieve the goal that you set out.
Yeah. And that's absolutely what you did. You know, I'm just looking back at like a memory of mine, like a fond memory, and like I listen to Joe Rogan's podcast every once in a while, and hearing him talk about your movie candidly, openly to millions of people was so cool, because I'm like,
and weird and wild, right? Out of all the things he could all the things he could have just thrown out there. Yeah. How weird is that, right?
And it came so naturally. It was just part of the conversation, and he mentioned that he had watched it and he really enjoyed it and recommended
cool movie the other day. Yeah, it's like weird.
Yeah, it was so a wonderful thing. And that, to me, I felt like, okay, that's the kind of thing, like that's what I think Joe Rogan is. He kind of symbolizes, even if you love him or you hate him or you don't understand or whatever, he's an authentic dude. Like whatever you want to say,
he's himself, no matter what you think of it. Yeah,
which is killer. Like in a world of people being unauthentic and being told what to say and do, he's doing his thing, which is cool. Whether you believe it and all that stuff, but what's cool is like it's natural, and he has bigger spread influence on the world than most conglomerate businesses. So
that's the scary part.
Yeah, well,
that's the scary part.
But that's just how it goes.
That's where we live. That's where we live now. Yeah. And so how do we deal with that?
He was an early adopter to podcasts, was authentic, had really interesting things, brought cool people on, and they talked about stuff, and all of a sudden, years later, boom, he was big. And
I think
what do you think's going to happen? Yeah.
We just have to figure out a way to school people on the difference between a fact and somebody's thought.
Yes, yes,
that's
yeah,
the problem,
yeah.
is that people take the words of people on the internet and they
That's
think
scary.
it's gospel, right?
Yeah, I
It's
don't
like, no,
believe in
that's
any
one
of it.
person's opinion,
Yeah.
and you can take it or leave it.
Yeah, that's definitely another thing. But that was a fun moment I can remember, because I was like, that's fucking Anthony's film. That's awesome.
Dude,
He's
for
talking
me,
about it.
it was getting a review in the New Yorker.
Yeah, it's as big as that. Yeah, yeah,
For like,
yeah,
I don't deserve that.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. Well, we don't deserve anything, but that was a really special thing. I just felt it was a beautiful way of the universe saying, like, hey, here's a little fucking gift, like.
No, but a positive review in the New Yorker, for me, that they don't review very many movies.
Yeah.
And ours is this was a movie that we made. So Come True
That was a
made
natural thing too.
with a
just
crew of 5 people.
Yeah. Yeah. We should talk about that, actually. Sorry, I don't mean to jump around. You wrote Come True out of the ashes of Our House, right?
Well,
or is it a story that was sitting with you for a while?
A story that was sitting for a long time. And I, in fact, wanted to do it first, but all my management and agents and everything said, no, it's too weird. You can't do that first. You can't
do the script and everything?
We had a first draft that was by my friend Dan, and you know Dan.
And you and Dan have written quite a few things. Did you and Dan do Our House as well?
Yes. Yeah, but we're uncredited.
Yeah, naturally, right?
Both of us are uncredited. Because the studio, Universal Studios, didn't pay Nathan Parker. And so they had to pay him out. It's just all, union stuff,
yeah.
Sweet union stuff. Yeah. Listen, Nathan wrote a great script, and
the premise is great of Our House. Yeah. So cool.
And his script was great. We just wanted to make it our own. That's the whole thing.
As you should.
Yeah, always. But yeah, so Dan had written a draft, and then some time went by, and I realized that it wasn't quite right. And it was, we had originally developed it to be more Hollywood, pre Our House, right? So here's the Hollywood version of Come True. And so then I took it away, and I wrote the version that is in my heart, which is, I wanted to make a movie that examined both the experience of living, but also was exploring nostalgia in an honest way.
That's a hard thing to do.
Yes. I wanted to make a movie that was kind of antagonistic, because everyone was so into 80s and 80s this and 80s that. And I thought, well, in the 80s, movies weren't all great, and the ideas of protagonists and things, and the way that we, I'm sure we've talked about this before on the phone, even the way that women were portrayed in the 80s was abysmal.
Yeah,
go watch Back to the Future Part 2. See what happens with
most any films in the 80s.
Yeah. And so I wanted to make a movie
that was Alien. Yeah, baby.
Alien's 1979. And that's why. There was a crossover with, like, it's almost like the minute Reagan happened, it was okay to be a piece of shit again. But ultimately, I wanted to examine 80s movies, my love of 80s movies, the things I like, the things I dislike, and just make I guess the best way to put it is this, is that if you watch a David Lynch movie, it's the 1950s through David Lynch, because that's what he grew up in. Even in Twin Peaks, it's made in the 80s, and yet people are dressed like the 50s. Yeah. You got your greasers, you got the, skirts. It's his interpretation. The nostalgias of his life are brought into his psychosis.
Yeah.
And I wanted to bring the nostalgias of my life into this psychosis, which is the film, and examine something that I had always thought was interesting, was this experience of who we project into the world. The psychology of Carl Jung, and weave it all into something.
You got really into dreams and all of that stuff. I remember you did
because I'm really into dreams. I think dreams are so interesting, and
it's a weird thing we do.
So I saw, I had sleep paralysis when I was younger, when my mother died, and then when I saw Rodney Asher's The Nightmare, it was like, which, by the way, I've talked to Rodney, and he's seen Come True, and we've talked a lot about.
Oh,
yeah, it's been great.
It's wonderful. Those are the things that you have to hold dear. Yeah. Those things you go, when I'm really feeling shit and I feel like I can't do this anymore, all those memories, those great memories, just hold on to those bad boys, right?
Yeah. We'll see. No,
well, you have to. That's what.
Come True put me back in a good place. I want to be making movies. We'll get to where that ends up and how COVID works into that, because COVID was rough.
That's right. Yeah, that was right. Your premiere was during COVID.
Which was a nightmare.
That's right.
Yeah. No one can go see your movie. We get a theatrical release that no one can see.
I remember
Come
that.
True had a theatrical release that no one could go to.
Oh,
it's a bummer.
Man. It reminded me, I was telling you, on a road trip, I was listening to the director that did Boondock Saints. And I was listening to his commentary, and he was saying that, and something I totally forgot, is that the Columbine shooting happened right around the time that was supposed to be premiered. And they were like, no guns allowed in theaters, no gun movies, nothing. So like his film, all of this effort and everything, and William Dafoe's incredible performance in this really unique special film of its time didn't get a theatrical release because of this horrible, violent, just abomination that happened in Columbine. And it gained traction because the VHS world, and then the word of mouth world before the internet was like doing its thing, and it's you went through the same thing. That's crazy. I didn't
go through the same thing, but yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you couldn't really, you released your film, but you couldn't release it. Yeah, which is like, dude, what the hell?
Yeah. No, and after the journey that it was tough, but I don't know where we sort of like veered off there.
Script. You're talking about script, and then building the script.
And just, I wanted to make something personal that was an examination of our love of 80s movies and my love of 80s movies, and merge it into some sort of, horrific tale that brought discomfort as opposed to leaning into the easy things that make nostalgia work. This is leaning into the hard things that make nostalgia work. Because you're an auteur and you're like an artist and a director's director, and you do so many things, when you are writing the words and you're projecting out these things in your mind, and then you're sitting there and you have your camera and you're watching Julia perform, what's that feeling like? Joy.
Pure joy, right?
Pure joy.
Yeah.
Pure joy. When I have my camera and I'm looking through and I see a performance happen that I never could have imagined it being that good, or it's exactly what I saw in my mind, it's joy. And then when it's not those things and you have to pivot, that's joy too, because it's like, it's gymnastics. It's a game.
Yeah.
And I learned, I talk a lot about instinct, and people always say, well, how do you become a good filmmaker? I don't think you become a good filmmaker. I think you make so many films that you get the instinct to understand what won't work. That's it. Yeah. That's really what it comes down to, is that like I told, the people at this film festival that you just have to make tons of shorts and tons of things and tests and consistently
fail.
Yes,
and succeed.
Don't show those failures.
No. Yeah, we always talk. Remember, fail privately, succeed publicly. Yeah.
Yes, and that's because people can't handle
silence online.
They can't handle a bad short. No, listen. Yeah. I think people have this idea that you should be a genius out of the gate. And it's
not
just
true. It's no such thing.
I'm sure there is such a thing. The fact is that I'm not one of those. I have made so many shorts and so many things, and I used commercials and MTV and all that time as just film school and failure time. And that was stupid, and I did that wrong, and next time I'm going to do this. So to see it all happen instinctually and have a good time on set is joy. And with Come True, we had that. It was really, really fun. And the edit took a long time because I didn't have anybody helping me, but it was fun. And every day I would wake up and I would push myself to do, 2 minutes of movie. And, then I would sit with my wife and we'd watch the cuts, and I'd do 3 different takes and all the, all these things. And she would tell me it was garbage. And then I would go back and show other people. And it was just really, really fun. And I was so lucky to have people who supported me, and that I had friends that helped with the financing, people I had worked with, my boss, where I was the creative director.
Topics.
At Topics, yeah.
That's right.
Chris Wallace, he came in, and he actually came in for a bunch of money, and then a family member came in, Andrea Hatz-Nicolas, and because they had seen our house and said, it's crazy. I saw what you were doing, and I think that we could really make something special.
There's a lot on the line there.
Yeah, there is a lot.
People so close to you.
Yeah, but we decided we're going to do this for such a low amount that we
still
should be
a lot of money.
Still.
I mean, it's purchasing a nice home, and then some,
Well, ultimately, what was, and then we had telefilm support as well, which in Canada, that is when we have an organization here that sort of helps you get extra financing for your projects. And then we did tax credits because we shot in Alberta. And so you get money back for spending money in Alberta. So all this stuff all made it very easy to do something. And I mean, to the American filmmakers out there, I apologize because you don't have as many of these sort of programs. And it's a bummer because they really do help low budget films succeed. Because it's that little extra that you need, and they really want to see these wild visions come to life here in Canada, because we figured out over the years that that's what we have to export. Because we can't mimic. We don't have the dollars. We don't have the market here to mimic the kinds of films that are made in the U.S. But what we can do is we can make our own kind of movies, and that's why everyone sort of immediately says Panos Cosmatos, Brandon Cronenberg, sometimes I get lumped in there as well. But there is a consistency to it, and people go, oh, well, there must be something, to Canada. And there is something to Canada, is that they allow people to express themselves honestly.
Yeah. And you get that kind of bespoke style creative, which is interesting. And
it feeds itself. Obviously, there is something to this Canadian cinema, even in its weirdness and its structure. There is a thing to Canadian films that you sort of have to. I'm Canadian. I have to embrace that. So.
You're very proud Canadian too. You love your country. Always talking about how great it is in comparison to America. I'm like, hey,
no comparison. No.
Yeah.
No. Listen, there is a freedom to America that I love to death.
Yeah, you were just here.
Death. Yeah, exactly. I love it. And I love, there is a spirit to people. We I can't generalize anything, but there is a spirit to the US that is so cool. So cool. Like, I love New York. I love Los Angeles. I love everywhere I've been, actually, in the States. I love, because there's a vibrancy to the survival. You can feel the survival. In Canada, you don't feel the survival because we're taken care of. It's different, And so, like,
get the feel same
at your hardest points in life, there's someone here if you need them.
Yeah, that's not happening.
That doesn't happen. But what it does breed in America is this vibrancy of survival. Every moment is you live as if it's your last. Live your best life. And I think that that's the thing that I love most about America.
That's a nice thing. That's probably the nicest thing I've heard you say about America, and I'm going to hold on to that one.
No, because it's true. Like, when we're walking around, we're talking to everybody. Listen, how many amazing people did we meet just on our trip?
Oh, we met so many.
Yeah,
but we're
gems.
we're also nice people. We're outgoing. We're very polite, and wherever we went, we made sure we were allowed as much as possible. Because we went out into like decrepit, broken down parts of society.
Yeah, on this trip that we were talking about early in the podcast.
Yes,
which was basically like a photo fishing trip. Like, we're going out to try and get beautiful footage and test ourselves and keep that instinct sharp, so that's what it's about, is keeping your instincts sharp so that you don't lose that ability to capture magic.
Came back so fast. First, I was like, like 10 shots in. I'm like, oh, there it is. Catching those fishes. It felt so good. There's nothing like it. But and I also like doing those kind of things because there's no shot list. You're just reacting to nature's beauty, and you're like, well, whatever you consider to be God, if you're listening, like if you're spiritual, whatever, I consider that my God. God is nature. God is like observing the beauty of the world. And that was it. It was like, oh my God, look at this. look what the nature babies are giving us.
Yeah,
Cinema
absolutely.
Jesus is what you call it.
Yeah, I call it cinema Jesus. But what that also does what that also does
what it also
it
does.
what it also does is when you're out there and you're shooting like that, when I a lot of people ask me if I storyboard, because the shots are very concise.
Yeah.
I do not storyboard.
You do, though. For holidays, you did.
For holidays, I did because I was shooting with Kevin.
Oh, that's right.
So
And
Kevin was my DOP on that.
Kevin and Rebecca
And-
Jolson.
Yes.
Good buds.
And-
yeah.
Yes.
Shout out to
great
them.
buds. Shout out to them.
Yeah. Wonderful peeps.
And because of that, I storyboarded so that Kevin and Rebecca would have a clear
that helps,
idea of what we were going to do.
But when you shoot, you don't.
But when I shoot, I don't.
Yeah.
It's all here.
Yeah.
And it's boarded, but I don't. Why am I going to take that extra thing for me? Like it's like an extra process that I don't have the time to do it for me. And I work so closely with Nick that he knows what I'm going to do. I just say it's going to be a wide shot here. And it's going to
explain who Nick is to people.
So Nick Bayshard is my right-hand man. He is, he's only been credited as co-producer on the last 2 films, but in all honesty, what he is line producer, AD.
Yeah, he's AD.
Anything that we need done. Like we schedule, we find the locations ourselves. Like it's everything. But he is credited as co-producer. But he is my producer.
He's one of the 5 on the team.
Yeah, he's one of the 5 that is on the team. So how we do it is there is me, there is Nick, there is Howard, there is makeup and hair, there is sound recordist, and there is camera assist.
And then you have your talent.
And then we have the talent. And so Howard typically, would make sure that the talent was comfortable and that they had everything they need, because one of the things we do is rigidly adhere to all the needs of the cast and the union rules for cast, so that everything is comfortable and they're
foot
happy.
rubs and Snickers bars, king size, and
whatever they need. but
even on your
ultimately,
shoestring budget, you managed to.
Because this is the thing.
That's one thing I learned from you too. Is like feed your crew, keep them happy, and like, okay. Because I'm like, I don't eat. You're like, that's not their problem.
Exactly. Your problems are not their problem.
Yeah.
No, I treat my cast like gold because they are gold.
Yeah.
The cast are the only thing that really matters when you're making a film.
Well, everything
because
matters,
a lot of people,
right? Everything's the only thing that matters. Well,
no.
For me, on camera. And shooting all wonky.
You need a camera.
You need sound.
But you don't need the best camera.
No, it's true.
I use this example.
Yes.
What I think I don't know if I've said it on the podcast already, but you can shoot Daniel Day-Lewis with an iPhone, and his audio can be coming from the iPhone. I can make a genius movie. That guy is untouchable.
He's special. Yeah, he's
special, right?
Yeah.
So when you have a performer who is special, you can look at their face for 15 minutes.
Yeah. And they
can take you on a journey. They can take you on a journey. Your actors are your gold.
Yeah.
It's the one thing, when people start making shorts, they often will just get their buddy or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, I always say, that's okay if they're not talking.
Yeah.
But the minute, and even for close-ups, it's not okay. Because an actor can emote and give you
so much. Yeah.
And
that's so important.
So they are the gold.
Yeah. I learned a lot of working with Tyler Hines on Chimera. This is something that is not released yet, so what I'm talking about doesn't make sense. But
Ash is working on a new short with a friend of ours.
It's basically done. I'm so excited.
Yeah,
15-minute live action with some CGI.
Yeah.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Submitted. Yeah, let's see, very excited about that. But when you see an actor doing something, and I know you must experience this, is you're wearing so many hats on set, and the live performance, you're just like, you give me the thing I need, and then I gotta go. It's got to be, it's got to be thrilling and nerve-wracking, and it's like real-time 3D. Everything's happening so fast, and then you're just like, I didn't think you'd do that. That's cool, and I want to get another one. But then,
which is ultimately why Hollywood has
Yeah.
tried to make things so synthetic, is because it's easier and you have less of that, right? If you can fix everything in a computer, it makes things so much easier, but it's not exciting.
No, it's
it's that excitement of like, I better get this in the camera is so worth it.
Yeah, the energy,
the feeling you get from that when you do capture it is like, it's unmeasurable. It's so fun. And if you do that with a team and a small, like we do it with a small team, it feels like you all accomplish so much, and it's like this beauty
Yeah.
and friendship and camaraderie, and that's why I'm making movies. Yeah, it's nice to get the vision out there, but at the end of the day, we're making things to connect with other people. And whether you're connecting on set, you're connecting with an actor. That's why I like shooting my stuff. I like looking through the lens at the actor.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. It's like, that's the connection
Yeah.
that you're looking for.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this at great length too. I'm such a visual person. I know you are as well. I can't imagine taking that beautiful part of filmmaking away from myself. That seems like that's actually I would unless I had complete synergy connection to the DOP, I feel like that would remove one of my favorite things. It's like, I want to see what this is looking like, because I need to know what that is, and I need that control. But also, it's like, you need to drive performances, and you need to be aware of those nuances rather than looking at what the camera's doing. You need to focus on what's happening, so. But I think that that's definitely possible. You see with like Paul Thomas Anderson shooting Phantom Thread, and it was stunning film. And it's not like he's carrying everything around. He's got CAs helping him out and all that kind of stuff. He's directing still, but he also has like freaking Daniel Day-Lewis. So like
exactly
shooting
like
film
I said
with old school vintage lenses, and it's delicious, So it's hard to compare. You and I do a lot of this comparison thing. It's a horrible game to play.
It is a horrible game,
because
especially
we're poor kids. Yeah, poor kids, and we're making stuff on shoestrings, and it's like, come on, it's like, we can't.
It's not even the same ballpark. Yeah,
not even close. Like,
not even close.
So with Come True, you made it with 5 core crew people, where you just explained, and we've talked about this too. This is the fundamental 5 that you need in order to make something, right?
Yeah, the bare minimum.
That's the bare minimum. It's you doing multiple roles: producer, shooting, directing, all of these kind of things. Yeah. And we'll talk about your day to day on that shoot. And
here's the other thing. Before we get to the core 5s, you also need people who believe in you. So we had producers above us who basically helped us to get the telefilm financing, and I had a mentor in Vincenzo Natali, who
he's also a director.
He's also a director.
Cube and the one that starts with S. Splice. Yeah. And you met from Manifold. That's right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We met from Manifold and continued to work together on things sort of in the peripheral. I did some second unit directing for him, and
the grass film.
Yeah, in the tall grass for Netflix. And ultimately, without those people believing in you, you can't even get to that point. So we had them. And then there's the core 5 that are on set.
Okay. Thank you for that, because you need your producers, and this is so it starts with you with this impetus idea that, okay, and then you write out the script and you have this cool base, and then you have believers, these believers that are kind of your guardian
angels. When you say, I'm going to go make a movie with 5 people, they don't roll their eyes at you. Yeah.
They go, okay, well, you did it.
We've seen you. And that's the thing, is that because I had done a TV show called Darknet. I don't know if you remember that.
Yep.
With Vincenzo and these producers, Copperheart.
Makes sense.
Yes.
So it's proving yourself over time, and you have a track record with these people that believe in you. That's a great point.
And with my boss from Topics, he had seen me as a creative director go in and shoot entire commercials with nothing. Yeah. So he was like, okay, I know what Anthony can do.
Yeah, he champions you, and he puts it. I mean, bless him.
And he also paid. He also paid for our off titles.
That's right.
That's
Topics
right. Paid for that.
Yeah, bless him, because he just was incredible.
Yeah.
And you need those, and then you have your 5 core on production, and then post. So like for those that are listening that aren't familiar with the filmmaking process, and maybe Anthony can chime in here because he knows more of this because he's done it. But films are made in the idea stage and pre-production, and then there's the post-production, and also then there's the shooting, and then there's the editing part, which is post-production. It's basically 3 stages. Yeah. And it could die on all 3 of those stages, or it could thrive, depending on where it goes.
And in our house, it thrived on the first 2 stages.
Yes.
And died in the post.
Yes.
For me.
For you, exactly. Yeah. And then for Come True, you had taken it. You went out and shot it with your small crew, and you did this also strategically so you can have smaller budget but more time. More takes, more room to fail. So we shot
typically on a low budget movie now, whether it's a Blumhouse or whatever. Typically, the shoot times are very short. I don't know exact numbers, but I know that on Our House we had 28 days.
28 shooting days.
28 shooting days.
Are you doing 5-day weeks or 6-day weeks or 7-day weeks or what do you do? 5-day weeks. So you have 2 days off, and we'll talk about your day on your.
But in Come True, we did not have 2 days off because on the weekends we had to build the sets.
Well, you were moving, yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
So
Cast did though. Cast was off.
Yeah. Cast was off. Yeah, exactly. All the union rules of the cast are adhered to. It's just us who kills ourselves to make the movie. Which is the way to do it. I don't. And everyone who did this also got points. So
cool.
Yeah. So
explain points too, actually.
Yeah. Percentage of back end, but back end is not even a thing.
Well, yeah. So if so it's kind of like, it's like getting stock in the value of the film.
In the film. You can give people that if you have some ownership, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so if you shot 28 days
on Our House, Come True, we shot 60 days.
That's right. I was going to say, I thought you did more than that.
60 days shooting. Yeah. And then we had weekends where Nick and Howard and I were working and creating the sets and building them for the next week, making sure everything was ready for the next week.
That's a wonderful amount of time.
It was amazing.
Did you feel like it was enough time, or do you think you could have had more time?
It was enough time.
60 days.
Yeah, 60 days.
To squeeze out, how many was the running time at the end? What your cut, the cut that you would maybe...
No, the cut that's out there is my cut. So I think the running time ultimately, I don't know, an hour 45?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, because typically, as I've heard too, is like shooting, under pressure and all that kind of stuff. Oh, we're shooting in a month. It's like, it's almost unrealistic because you're going to burn out and you're going to miss opportunities. And
most genre movies now have like 14 to 20 days.
That's too much. I mean, that's too little. I can't.
Too little.
I would never do that. I would never put myself in that situation.
No. It's not fair. It's not fair.
And for anybody.
Yeah, no, the actors hate it.
Yeah.
The crew hates it. The director hates it.
You need
it's
room.
Just not right. It's not right. And
I like to sit down and have dinner with my people and talk and enjoy memories. I think that's really important to the process, but
no,
can't be doing that when you're grinding 14.
It's a business, right? So that's the balance. So we're trying to figure out, okay, well, if it's a business and we need to make money, I'm happy to not have as much help around me in order to get what we need, which is the gold from the actors.
Yeah.
Give me time to get the gold from the actors, because on a low budget movie like ours, we had no business having good performances, but we need them.
We need them. Was in duress most of the film, so it's demanding a lot of her, which is really, that's tricky, to hold that and push that pulse and keep it going and maintain it and then go beyond it. It's like, it's a lot to ask.
She's a professional. She's I can't believe she hasn't like exploded.
It's just a matter of time. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Your day-to-day on set when you're doing this, pick a day, any day. How does it look? Because I know your days are long. How does it look? Yeah.
It's waking up.
Yeah.
Packing the van.
What time?
Probably around 8 o'clock. Because that's the other thing is we do 8-hour days.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And obviously it varies, because that's the other thing. You want comfort during those days so that you're not... Because after 8 hours, people just become zombies.
Yeah, you kind of melt out.
Yeah, and by the end of
at hour 9 and 10, it's like, okay, mushy.
Leave? And that point, you got cast and crew going like, I wish I wasn't here, and I don't ever want that, So just when you're going,
that's
to that
good.
Point
8
of,
hours.
I'm getting exhausted.
Clint Eastwood was doing that too. I remember hearing that he likes to keep an 8-hour day, and he's super strict at it. Yeah, I think that's smart, because it's like, if we can't manage an 8-hour day to get our work done, then what are we doing?
Then it's not right?
Yeah,
exactly. And that's the other thing is you do these quick turnaround shoots of like 20 days, and they're like 16, 20-hour days.
Yeah, no way.
What a nightmare. What a nightmare. Yeah. I'd rather not make a movie.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like there's no vision that's going to come out complete on that schedule.
No. It's you make mistakes, and then you're not going to know it until the third part of the filmmaking process, and you go, oh shit, I'm in the edit and I didn't get this connecting shot, and I got to lose that scene because I don't have a connector, or I don't have the emotional tone to carry this scene that needs to go for the third act here, and like nothing's lining up. So yeah, I can't imagine.
And we're seeing the outcome of this sort of production schedule.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Over and over. There's movies that, and just to give everyone an idea of like what a typical, I mean, these aren't typical, but movies we loved from like the 70s and 80s, sometimes they would have hundreds of days to shoot their films.
I thought
Fincher films have hundreds of days.
Well, he knows what he knows. Yeah.
But
and Kubrick would shoot a long time too. But he was also I think he's an inspiration for us both, because it would be him and he would shoot. No, he wouldn't. He wasn't credited as, but he was a DOP a lot of the times, right?
A lot of times, yeah.
Yeah, because he was a wonderful.
He wasn't credited, but he did shoot a lot of his stuff, and he also had very tiny crews. Like once he did the main set build and everything, then all those people went away, and then it was just a small, tiny crew, right?
Yeah.
So that you could still do the things that we're doing, where you take the time. It's intimate. The actors can get there, and there's no pressure, and you just go and go and go, and until we're all. And again, it's like work.
Yeah.
It's an 8-hour day.
I like that. I didn't know you did 8-hour days. That's something to strive for. Cause like when we were doing Chimera, it was like, we were doing like 35, 45 shot pickups in a day. And that's insanity. That pace is too much. It's too insane, because you're just blasting. But thankfully I had, we had talked about this at great length prior to shooting, but I storyboarded and balanced everything out and got it all super organized. So I was like, I know exactly what I need to do at this time. And you don't storyboard. You and Nick, do you guys run out? Like, so in the morning, you guys pack the van with gear and everybody, the Power 5 basically rolls in?
Yeah, we have two vans, Power, and basically we packed up the gear and we get it all in the same configuration every day so that we know where everything is, all of us, so no one's going to get lost. And then we go out to set, and then we shoot the day, get everything we need. And at the end of the day, instead of storyboarding, usually we're going to be in the same space again. So what we do is we go through the space and we sort of do a little bit of a shot list for the next day at the end of the day, because it's only been 8 hours, right? So we're not exhausted.
You start blocking?
Me and Nick will go through, and I just go, it's going to be here, 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 it's going to be here. And these are the spaces we're going to work with. Because the reason I don't storyboard is this.
Yeah, you get married to it.
Well, on a low budget, so I build lights into the sets, like that, like so that the lighting comes primarily naturally from the sets.
Yeah.
But on a low budget, what I like to do is let the actors run the stuff over and over, or whatever. Do some rehearsals in front of us.
Yeah, you stand and watch them do it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I was
doing
that.
And then you choose the angles.
Yeah.
Because that's the same thing we're talking about with the instinct of going out in nature, right?
Yes.
So when you're out there in nature, you find the shots.
100%.
And they're way better than you could have ever drawn.
Way better, always. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I noticed that with Tyler.
Yeah, when you get, and again, Hollywood has the money to put everything into the frame that they need.
Sure. Yeah.
We don't have that.
Yeah.
So we have to make the frame talk in different ways.
Yeah.
And so because there's very few times we're able to get exactly what we need in that frame for very little money. And so
when you're making these films, and sorry for interjecting, but this is something that happened to me. I think we talked about this, but when you're out there filming and you're doing your thing, we talk about studying films, and you love films. You probably love films and watching movies way more than me, even, which is,
I don't know about that.
You watch way more movies, dude.
I do.
I don't watch. I watch the same movie a lot. Like I'll just watch like No Country over and over, and like I'm weird like that. But when you're doing this, when you're making your film and you're sitting there and you're dealing with the pressure of directing and your choices in life and all this stuff, do you think? Are you thinking like, well, Kubrick did this and Fincher did that, and are you thinking about them, or are you figuring it out on your own?
You can't.
Yes.
In fact, I don't. Yeah, you don't. Yeah. You can't. And I don't watch movies while I'm making movies at all, or around the time of creation, just because
it's dangerous.
It's very easy to forget where your inspiration comes from, and then you end up doing something that someone else did. Now that still happens anyways, because those movies live inside you.
It permeates. Yes. Great
always
films live inside.
But also, what you end up finding out is that the reason why great directors chose a certain shot for a certain mood or in a certain time is because it works.
Yes.
It works. It delivers the emotion, and that's why they do it. And so you end up doing those same things anyways. Not once do I go, oh, what would so-and-so do? Because then why am I doing it?
Yes. I thought that before we were cameras rolling on, and I thought to myself like, well, see you later, guys. And I was like, this is my time to find out what I like. Because I think I told you, I didn't really know what blocking was. And then I figured it out and I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, and I had Tyler, same thing. I had Tyler I was like, enter the room. How would you do it?
For cool. those of you who don't direct films and are doing sort of digital stuff, basically, I mean, it's all the same as working in Unreal, right? Is that you get the actions done. Yeah. And then afterwards you put the camera. Yeah. That's the way you do it, right? And so that's why you get incredible
stuff from an actor that just gives you gifts. And that was what Tyler was telling me. He's like, I'm going to give you some gifts. I'm like, what do you mean gifts? And he would do gifts. And I'm like, this is a gift, you know? And I would punch in on it. And then we were so thankful in the end, you know, when we were editing together, because Tyler and I edited, it was really cool to see the difference in perspective of his performance and my view of his performance. And that was really fun. And it was, I think, that there's so much to gain from that experience of watching somebody do it. So that's cool that you did the same thing, because that's 100% right. As a low budget, on the cuff, get it, grind it filmmaker, you cannot control it as much as you would if you had budget. And also you kind of don't want to, because what your actors give you, I was really surprised how much handheld I was doing. I was like, why am I doing I didn't think I would do that, but I did, because there was an energy to what Tyler was doing. I'm sure it's the same for you, right? Yes. I mean, I imagine you do a lot of lock-offs. I love lock-offs too, but you
and handheld tells you when to do it. That's what's crazy about it.
Yeah, it's true.
It really does tell you. Like in Come True, there's some handheld moments, even though the rest is super, super controlled. Yeah. And so when you're watching the movie, you'll be like, oh, why is that handheld? It's because at the time it tells you to put it there, and it creates that different vibe right away. And obviously we know that now, you know, everybody is so studied in film too. Like it's so different. Like film is a language. Film is a language now that a lot of us speak, even if we don't know that we speak it. Yeah. And so
there's these rules, which I don't agree with, you know, to be completely honest. And like, that's what I was saying when I went into it, and I know you feel the same way. It's like, I just threw it all out. I said, that doesn't matter. Those are other people's rules. I'm here dealing with my choices.
I remember the first time I was directing a television show, and someone, you've crossed the axis. You can't do that. And I was like, I'll do whatever the frig I want.
Yeah. I remember
it won't cut. And I'll be like, it'll cut.
Yeah. Do whatever.
Trust me.
I'll do whatever I want.
I'll do whatever I want to do here. Like you can't tell me like the rules of like 1980s television, you know, like it's, these aren't rules, because I mean, listen, would they have worked in 1980s television when you were cutting two headshots together? It would look weird.
And also the aspect ratio is different too, and all these different things. That's what so that's cool to hear, because you do. So you have Julia come in, you have the set ready, but it's not dressed and stuff, and you're just having her go through it.
Yeah, right? And I have an idea of what's going to work best, and I sort of look at it from that angle. Yeah, and then from there you go, oh, you know what? It'll actually be better from here. And then you can actually see where the light's falling and things like that. And you go, this will be a beautiful way to do it, and it'll also tell the story.
And you build in lights when you work, so it feels natural. It feels lived in. It feels so. You shoot a lot again, like with lights, you know, natural light, and then a supporting light.
And in the case of, like, let's say if you ever watch Come True in the sleep study, you have bank lighting over top, which is very flat. But what we would do, and no one can know this, is that we would turn off a couple bulbs so that I would have stronger bank, you know, just behind and fill. There was half the exposure. So little tricks like that, where you would have the full bank on in the back and then just turning off. So you could do this really quickly just with light switches and create like all the stuff you need in the space. So instead of setting up giant lighting grids and all the rest of it, trying to figure out ways to do it.
That's a time suck.
Yeah. Same with in the sleep study room with the purple lamps and stuff. If you watch the film, if you look up top and you look at what's on and what's off, it changes all the time if you were to really pay attention. But it's there to create and to cut out the actors.
Moments and memories I remember of the wonderful cinematography that you captured, because it's funny to forget how many roles you've done, and at an excellent level. Some shots that I remember, just like my mind is the main scientist or the main therapist. How you captured him, the backlit against the natural light, and his glasses and the refraction is so stunning. And then her in that room. I won't spoil it for those that haven't watched the film, but when she's talking with the one that's leading the thing, and that natural light that's to her right, that felt so good. And I mean, there's so many iconic moments when she's on the slide at night, because night shooting on a budget, I mean,
it's hard.
It's probably the hardest, right?
Yeah.
Of all. Yeah. Because
the finale of Come True was very hard to do with a crew of 5. There was a lot of moments
a lot of foggy. Yeah.
Well, basically I would be on a walkie-talkie and Nick would be,
in the field,
out in the fields with fog machines. And like, okay, hit the fog. And then you'd have to wait for the exact right settling of the fog, because it's all really there. We don't have people there to defend the stuff. So it's like, it's very, very iffy. But it all worked out.
Yeah, and you had that big light source coming down, and I mean,
and how we did all of our light sources was, honestly, we went on Amazon, and I found these light poles that could go up so high, like crazy, and then we would just put these LEDs in, and it all worked out. But we had to do tests, and we had to go out at night and make sure this was all going to work. You don't show up on set and go, how do we do this? Which is actually how a lot of stuff, weirdly, even
that's
in professional levels, it actually does happen, but it's weird. So like for Come True, just so everybody knows, is we shot for 60 days, but I think we had 2 months or 3 months of prep.
Yeah, that's
just
so
me
clutch.
And Nick and Howard running around and making sure that we had everything we need, and we painted all the props. And I remember I was sending you photos all the time of like us in like spray paint garb.
It was awesome.
It's awesome. It is awesome.
You're
it's
with
so
your buddies and you're making art, and you're doing it. You're doing it and you're getting paid to do it, albeit,
not tons,
but come on,
but enough to survive. Yeah,
there you go.
Getting paid at all to do what you love is a gift. We've talked about that tons on the podcast before. Is that getting paid to do what you love is a gift and a privilege.
Yeah, absolutely.
And anybody who's out here complaining that I had to do it. Dude, do you know what you could have to be doing instead?
Yeah. But it's also, it's like, the choice to do it. There's a responsibility with that choice as well. And it's not, I'm trying to paint the most realistic view of what you're doing, what you've gone through and what you've done in this very short window of time. It's really hard to do unless you're living it, but it's based on instinct and all those things. I'd urge everybody that's listening to this, if you haven't watched Come True, you should definitely watch it. I think it's a very special film. I think it's really important to support artists like Anthony as well, because he's going out there and he's making these things with his friends, as you heard, and other talent. And it's important to support those kind of things. And also, I know Anthony listens and acknowledges a lot of the feedback, even good and bad. I think that you said that helps you.
Oh yeah.
It helps you kind of guide your kind of navigation as you move through. Cause, I don't want to jump over Come True too much, but like now you've gone through the Come True process. It's gone out worldwide release, all of these things. It's on Hulu. It's crazy that your film is out there. The thing that you had in your mind, you went out there and made it on the budget.
Shot it on a Sony A7S II.
Yes, which is a point and shoot like budget camera, and you shot with that camera because you knew it, you're familiar with it, has incredible low light, very versatile. Sony cameras are amazing for that. At the time, that was the banger. And now their new versions are,
and now insane. The FX3 is the continuation of the banger.
That technology is incredible. The low light's insane. The color got better, but yeah, that was crazy that you shot it on that, and how you kind of figured all those things out, and editing and all that stuff. I mean, I remember, Francois, myself, and Connor, we were helping with some of the CGI stuff, and there's these things I won't tell you.
So in Come True, there are dreams, and we had a team. So in post doing that,
and as you're editing it and stuff, you were I learned so much from you on that process, because you had rules like if a shot takes longer than a minute to render, it's not going in the film. And I love that, because as a CGI artist, you go like, well, I could add this and that and all these things. And then, it's 10 minutes to render a frame. And you're like, well, that's not happening.
Conditions. I really like conditions, because it makes you get creative, right? So So
we're pushing out some of the craziest stuff so fast. I was like, how's he doing this? And Francois and I were looking at like, how is he producing this level of work so quickly? And it was really humbling and amazing and inspiring. I learned so much. You learn so much when you do the thing.
Yes.
Because you learn instantly, I'm right here. I thought I was here, but I'm right here. And I was really humbling. It was really great. I took a lot. I know that Francois and I both took so much from that experience because we were developing Passage with this little short kind of thing that we were making in tandem, like prior. And then you had Come True come along and we're like, oh, these dreams. And we was like, oh, this is like this perpetual thing, which is really cool. And I won't ruin it for people. You should definitely watch it. But it was so cool. I learned so much from that. And you know, I think that I just learned that you need to be focused in your intention and set parameters.
Yes.
And if you don't,
emotion
totally
emotion rules those parameters, right? So
yeah.
So if it's not serving the emotion and it's just cool, no,
it doesn't work.
Right?
Yeah, it doesn't work. Yeah,
yeah.
As much as you want
dreams.
to,
There's a bunch of dreams that didn't even make it into the film that we made, and it's
so
kind
many
of a bummer
cool things
because we cut the film down a couple of times after we had completely finished it.
Yeah. My favorite stuff. My favorite dreams are always yours, though. You know, like. They're so cool. And I think it was perfect because I asked myself, and I remember talking with Connor one time and he was like, do you think Anthony likes this? And you think Anthony's going to use this? And I said, honestly, Anthony's just going to make better things than us. And he's going to just put that in the film. So
no.
Yeah. And that's what happened. So it's okay. 100%. You know, and the reason why I think is because you're in that pressure chamber. As much as we tried our best and tried to give you everything we could, you're in that pressure chamber of like, I have everything on the line. I have families, money on the line. I have friends. Yeah. You can't put that on. I just wanted it, and you did it. Yeah, and it was in your head too.
Yeah. That's the thing is that it was in my head, and so as much as it, you know,
we tried.
As much as I am a director, those kinds of things can't be really directed.
Yeah,
because they're psychological projections. They're paintings. It's like we're trying to make a very specific painting, and I'm trying my best to hold a hand, which is that's the weird thing about art, right? And it's almost why I'm blown away that movies even get made, because how do you tell an art team what's in your mind and have it effectively brought to life? You know, like it's very, very, very challenging.
It's super challenging. Or you have like a situation where it's like a perfect storm, like Alien, where Ridley has a Dan O'Bannon script, and then all of a sudden Geiger appears, and you're like, oh, he's already making this thing.
Well, and that's the thing is
that's serendipitous.
You got Geiger, and you don't need to art direct him.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. That's what those moments where you're like,
you're better than anything I could think of. Just go.
And I remember listening to like Denis Villeneuve talk about working with Roger Deakins, and his wife, Denny was telling his wife was telling Denny, like, you need to let Roger do his thing because he's better than you. And Denny's like, like he was fighting with it. But the fact is, Roger Deakins is one of the best in the world because of his pedigree and what he's done. And doesn't mean he shouldn't be questioned. By all means, question everybody. Everybody should be questioned. Nobody's the best, but at the same time,
I would have definitely questioned him on that police.
That interior. Station, all the lights were on. Come on, man. Come on, dude. We're talking about Blade Runner 2049. Well, you and I are diehard fans of. Is it Jordan's cinematography of Blade Runner 1? In my opinion, there's a couple films that are. Probably the best cinema has ever produced. Seven's one of them. Blade Runner is another. Darius Khondji,
the artistry of
it's just insane.
Minutia is so wildly.
It's just insane.
Amazing that you can't point out a flaw in the photography in those films.
It's just
insane.
Blade Runner, the first one, is just one of those things. You're just like, it doesn't make sense how good it is on all levels. You can point to any part of that film and be like, it's a masterpiece painting moving. It's just, I love that film for that, just that reason and as a thing. So we talk a lot about your movies, your films, your film career, where you come from. I realize that we have not talked about your music, which is crazy because this is the other part of your life. You're an incredible musician. We collaborate all the time. You contribute a lot of your work to my work via music. And this is also a part of your life that's very dear. Even behind you, you can see your studio, which is adorned in incredible music equipment. Let's talk about music. Like you've been making music forever. You also go by Pilot Priest. If you listen to Pilot Priest, you know that. If you don't, you should definitely check out his music. We will have links and all that kind of stuff if you're too lazy to Google it. But where did this all come from? You've been making music for a very long time, right?
Yeah, I was making music before I was making films.
So it's your
And
oldest art form beyond
yeah,
like drawing.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, no. So drawing and music are probably in tandem,
Mm.
but
First instrument.
we had an organ,
Mm.
but no, actually, no. My dad was he was an officer in a cadet corps,
Mm.
a Navy cadet corps, and so he put me in charge of. We laugh about this stuff all the time now, because he put me in charge of teaching the other cadets. So I was probably about 5 years old or 6 years old, and he put me in charge of teaching, like, teenagers how to play certain snare lines or certain trumpet lines or certain glockenspiel lines. And he never thought twice. He just thought, "Oh, the kid can do it. We'll do it." And
Your
he was
dad
like
knew
that with
you were
everything.
special.
No,
Yeah.
no, he also
You didn't know you were special? Why would he do that then?
because he didn't know that wasn't normal.
So that he knew you're special, but he didn't know you were special. They're saying.
Yeah, like he knew his son could
That's
actually
special.
do it.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I have theories about my father. We won't go into that, but I have theories that he might be a little bit like me.
Yeah.
Um,
Got the Bergs.
the Bergs,
Yeah.
we'll see. But the idea is that he really treated me like an adult
Mm.
throughout my entire life, and just like he would have,
That's what dads do.
he had me designing stuff like graphic design with Letraset by the time I was 5. I did a logo for one of his companies with Letraset. Like this is like the stuff. Like, so he's just like, yeah, oh, cool. That's kind of cool. Like, so I thought of like, oh, I could do, there's this one logo he had, and I learned how to do the Letraset. You know what Letraset is?
It's like a
It's like a paper with all these fonts. You could buy font paper.
Yes.
And it was the old way to do rub on
Yeah.
graphics. It was crazy, so old school. So that's what I would do, is do these graphics for him. And then, as he was really into computers, and he got himself an Amiga at one point, and I started doing graphics and like titles and stuff on Deluxe Paint. And this is like when I was like probably 10 years old.
Did you have much of a childhood, do you think? Or
yeah, I had a great childhood.
Yeah.
I was on set with my dad. He was a military advisor because of his role in the military and cadets and stuff like that.
Worked on Rambo, right?
Yeah,
that was one of the highlights.
Yeah, we must have talked about
First Blood. First Blood.
Yes, First Blood.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that has to have had a massive impact on you at such an early age.
One thing my dad did do a lot of outside of the music that was just inherently, like getting me to teach the kids and cadets, is that he listened. And just today he was telling me about records he found. He's at home. He's got the flu today. And he was saying, I found all these records, and they're all soundtrack records. So he would listen to soundtrack records a lot. And I think that is the formative thing.
It's a huge influence on you.
Yes. Yeah. Is that, so he listened to two kinds of things, funk and soundtracks.
Oh, there's Pilot Priest.
There's Pilot Priest, right?
Yeah, that's totally it.
Isn't that funny?
Mm-hmm.
There
I
it
describe
is.
your music as funk merged into the sonic space of sound, like soundscapes, really the soundscapes of film, cinemascapes, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's a beat, all the drums and everything from funk really, really like moved me. And then you have all the notation and the emotion of the soundtracks.
Yeah.
And so that's what we listen to all the time.
That makes sense. Yeah. And you're still doing it. You love your music though. That's one thing I do appreciate. Like you will listen to your music only. That's sometimes you'll do that, right? Like,
well, because I create my music
for yourself,
to listen
right?
to.
Yeah.
Well, that's how it started. So I would create Pilot Priest stuff because, there weren't a lot of like pieces of instrumental music that had like modern beats, and they were instrumental, and you could listen to them on repeat while you were working and not get sort of inundated.
Yeah. Bands like Air, that are some of your favorite bands. And
yes.
They
and so obviously I would listen to Air a lot.
Canada and stuff.
But then Air went into vocals, and like so it's a little different.
Yeah.
But like the early Air stuff and very simple lines. But yeah, I just started making that music, and also it's just fun. But I listen to my music a lot because it also allows me to go, oh, that emotion was hit there, and I'm analyzing it on the next one. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to change that, and I'm going to do this. A lot of people don't listen to their music, which is weird.
That is weird.
Yeah, like you got to listen to it to know what was working for you.
Yeah,
that's how I feel. I also watch scenes and things that I've created. Like I've watched come true countless times
Yeah.
because I know, oh, where did I screw up there? And where did I screw, you know? So
because you also were a big part in the music part of things too, right? You collaborated, but you also did
so Electric Youth and I worked on the score, but the remixes that are in Come True, I had done years before. So I did 2 remixes for Electric Youth, and we just sort of both realized that because I had the script,
Sure.
we had talked about it, and we had met up. And it was one of those things where Austin and Bronwyn agreed that we should hold off on releasing those remixes until the movie because they worked so well with the movie. But they weren't planned for the movie, which is weird. They just became a part of the fabric.
Again, I think that's having worked with you intimately on the CGI part of it and seeing what you were doing, it's the same thing. I think you are such an artist of your own volition that you kind of manifest these things. And I know you love to collaborate with people that you want to collaborate with and want to collaborate with you, but sometimes it's just like, it's cool to just see what you make and go, wow, that's interesting. But I find that fascinating. But in the music side of things, you're interested in, we talked about this a little bit too recently on our trip too, is like your potential shift in interest in scoring movies.
Yeah.
For other people, which I thought was interesting.
Well, because I did it for a movie called Flashback starring Dylan O'Brien and Micah Monroe. And I had a very interesting experience in that once I saw cuts and read the script, the music just happened and it manifested. And I wrote so many demos that it was one of those things where I realized that it was hyper enjoyable and productive. So I definitely do want to score other people's movies because it's something that I think I can do even better than making movies, to be honest.
It's a superpower of yours, definitely.
Well, I do think that I will be more successful scoring other people's movies than even making movies. I'm still going to make my own.
Making movies is so nebulous. It's
the
hardest
who knows?
thing.
Who knows? But the point is, like there are some people who are filmmakers and they also shoot other people's movies, and I feel like there are some people who, and I think my strongest suit is writing music that pulls an emotion out of a set of images.
Yeah, I love that.
And so I think if I wasn't scoring my own movies, they might suck.
Well,
you know what I mean? Because it's at that, I think the part that is helping the movie is the score, to be honest.
Score and music is it's like 50% of the experience, sometimes 80, depending on like how things are playing and the level of things, but they're so integral and they're so connected. If you don't get it right, you're really off and the film just falls flat or 100%. It's overdue, which is interesting. Yeah. It's interesting to hear you say that. And I think that like, that's a perfect like place for you to put your energy. I think just knowing your music so intimately, even like, I remember, the sound of your music, and then you did Darknet, and I was like, whoa, what a departure, a sonic departure in so many ways. And then you did other albums that were kind of, you do like this crazy funk thing, and then you got really huge cinematic stuff. And then like, it just got so crazy. And you did like, I was just in London and I did a talk and I was showing our Akira work and people were like, what the hell? And every time I listen to it, I'm like, damn, it's only like a minute long, but I'm like, it's so powerful. It's a real gift. And it's something that I know that you love and you've been doing for such a long time that I know that it's kind of like a natural thing for you at this point where you're just, I would love to see you in your studio and just kind of boom, 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 doing your thing.
I love it.
I can't
it's
imagine.
So fun. I love it. Like it is really, and I guess that's the thing is that it's the closest way to seeing a beginning to an end kind of art creation. And that's why I love it so much is that's that cool. I can create a finished thing very quickly. Whereas obviously a film takes years, obviously I'm not going to stop doing that. But when I think about what makes me happy, obviously helping another director pull the emotion out of the scene that they want is so rewarding.
Yeah.
That I'm definitely going to put a lot of effort into doing more of it. Because I had a blast. Like doing that Flashback movie, I had a blast creating that stuff.
And they must have been so thrilled because you're going in there with your intention. Because when you do something, you do it. You don't just half-ass it, you put it in there. And yeah, that's like for another filmmaker, you're like, that's all you really want from a collaborator. It's like, just give me everything you can and as raw as you can and we'll do it.
Yeah.
So
Well, and interestingly, I don't think I could talk out of turn, but that movie was hard for Chris, the director, to make as well, because it is a different kind of movie, and so that movie saw trims and cuts and things that he may have not wanted.
Sure. Yeah. The
And
process
so
of filmmaking. Yeah.
So the process is always difficult to make a movie and have it come out. And so as someone, I've done some ghost scoring, which is fun. I won't say what movies, but
because you're a ghost.
Because I'm a ghost.
Yeah.
But that was a huge blast. I don't care that my name is on it. I care that I got to do something cool. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. You're so talented with it. And and I know you've been such an influence on so many other musicians and artists. And I would just guess that it's because I think it's because you just approach it with your authentic approach, which is like, I'm going to make the music that I like for myself. And if others like it, awesome. And I think that's
one of the things I tell artists all the time. And it's something I said at the Chilliwack Independent Film Festival is that what you don't want to do as an artist is beg to do your job.
Yeah.
If you do the thing you love for long enough, the dream can happen. And what the dream is that someone comes to you and says, hey, I really like what you do. Can you do that for me? And I will pay you. and that's all you can hope for. Because if you go the other way and you're that glad-handing dandy who's like, I'm so good. I mean, you got to hire me. Please, please, please. You end up being in a different relationship with it. What you want to do is work on your craft and be so good at it that people come to you and say, that's what I want.
That's it.
Because you see a lot of people out there just almost begging to be hired or pick me.
Yeah.
That's not
social
the
media is a
position.
microphone too. And
You don't want to be that. You want to be making your thing and have someone come to you and go, man, I've never seen anything like that. That is so cool. Or I really like that,
All of our best jobs have started that way, with that kind of trust and respect. And then it just grows and it becomes a special relationship. Yeah. It's very true.
And I think that's the other reason I like music, is that I've been doing it for me for the whole time.
Yeah. It's really pure. And like you said, it's almost akin to food making. It's fast for the most part. It's very rewarding. Yeah. And it's fulfilling and wonderful. Yeah. And you can there's so much to it. And there's this nebula, and it's often kind of it's forgotten. I think it's not acknowledged how significant and special great music is, especially paired to cinema. I think people go like, oh, that Vis effects was so, but did you hear how those horns soared through there? Did you hear how that sound?
And if it was wrong, you would know, and it wouldn't feel the same way, and it wouldn't have the same impact.
And it's almost always sound.
Yeah.
Sound is that thing where you don't really realize it, but it's like, wow, it's like, I was watching Under the Skin the other day, and I was like, Mika Levy's score, and it's like, wow, this is so unique and such a weird approach to this film.
And ultimately,
and how well it fit.
Can you imagine if that wasn't a perfect fit creatively, what people would have said, and what because in terms of score, when you think of that that could be seen as, oh, well, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
There's nothing there. Like,
where's the climax? Where's the love interest?
I'm saying in terms of the score, like some people would say there's nothing to that score, and that there is nothing deep, but there is.
The deep is the gaps.
Yes.
And where you fall into it, and the unfamiliarity of it.
And that's a hard thing to explain to people unless they are on the same page. And
and Todd Glazer's definitely, I think he's on that level of like, let's get weird. Huh?
Jonathan Glazer.
Sorry. What did I say?
Todd.
Oh, Todd.
That's cool.
Actually, one of my good friends growing up was Todd. So, and the same last name.
Todd.
So, so sorry, Jonathan.
It's that's a great example of a score that, if you don't have the will, someone could make you make that into something else very easily. Be like, wait, this is just the drum track, right?
Yeah, they can
Where's the
convince you.
score?
Yeah.
You know, but it's sticking by that, and knowing that that's the mood and the feel, and having a director and everybody on board who goes, yeah, this is the vibe, and it's going to be so good.
The trust of that.
I don't know how many times I've come across people using that as a temp track, and you can hear it in stuff all the time. So funny.
Well, it's significant.
It becomes iconic because it is original.
It's so different. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's why
so
when people tell you they need something just like this, just like that, say, no, I'd rather create something fresh for you.
Yeah. And that's usually, because I mean, we're talking about that recently. I use temp to help me get through that first stage, to just get something on the canvas. But I'm always, when it comes to, I say, just do whatever though. Like, as long as it's matching pace with tempo, make whatever. And then if you want to match it, you like it, cool. If you don't, then throw it away. Like, I leave it there. Have these, like, I usually, like, as I guide acting, it's like, give me these 3 emotions or these 2, and then go. Like, and everything else is up for you to do. So, which is really, it's tricky, but I think it's a thin line. It's hard. It's a chicken and the egg thing. Gonna wrap this. One thing I want to keep going, but I have to go, as you know. We could talk for hours. We always talk for hours,
as we do.
Every time we get on the phone, I'm like, well, you come. There goes 2 to 3 hours every time. That's what was great about our road trip, because we were able to just like gab for hours in the truck and go shoot, which is amazing.
And it never got boring.
No, not even close. We just listened to Mr. Ballin's podcast, and like I listened to way too much Mr. Ballin podcast.
Yeah, you have to take her easy on the Mr. Ballin podcast, or else you start to go insane.
Full ham, and I was like getting like insecure. Like I started going
existential dread.
Oh yeah, I was like, I can't trust anybody. Yeah, who's gonna kill me?
Can't.
Yeah.
He was my best friend. Then he made my head into an ashtray. Yeah.
Dude's crazy. Yeah. So listen to Mr. Ballin podcast. It's amazing. Ballen. It's on YouTube. Okay. Anyways, one of the things I've been trying to do with these is have you nominate the next potential guest. I can't guarantee that they'll do it or the schedules will align or whatever. Who in your mind would you love to have on the show that you either have heard before or you would like to hear from, or think would be a really good conversation? Can you think of anybody?
Yeah. Greg Fraser.
I could try. I've been talking to him, so that would be. You want Greg?
I'd love to hear from him.
Oh, he's okay.
Super inspirational. I mean, the guy's shooting so many different styles and so many gnarly, images. Like, I would definitely love to. I mean, what a 0 to hero thing to go to from me to him.
No. Don't say that.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Well, damn. Okay. Well, thanks for putting the pressure on me.
There's the pressure.
I know he's busy. I'll do my best. You've nominated him.
I think a lot of people would want to hear.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, he's what the hell? He's one of the best of our time, and he's showing it with his versatility and his skill of image. I mean, I was watching Killing Them Softly the other day, and then jumped to the Batman, and then jumped to the Lion, and I went to Dune, and I was like, whoa, man.
The only consistent, it's funny. So at the Chilliwack Independent Film Festival, they had a short film section called Cult, and we were watching it, and all of a sudden the photography, I was like, oh my God, I feel like such a loser. Like, this is supposed to be like, independent shorts, and this thing looks so good. Oh my God, what is, and it was directed by Nash Edgerton.
Who's that?
Joel's brother.
Okay.
So I think it was shot in Australia, and it was this beautiful short film. And I was like, how did they afford film? And it looks so good. Oh my God. We get to the end and it's shot by Greg. And I was like, okay, I can feel okay about myself again.
He's literally a genius at what he does.
Going in there, I was like, what? Like, this is a short film. I didn't know that it was Nash Edgerton's film.
Yeah.
And I was just like, man, these students are like blowing us out of the water now. Like, this is gross. And to find out it was shot by Greg, it just, okay.
It makes sense. It's fair enough. Yeah.
But it was very different than his stuff. And so
love that.
The only thing.
What was the short called?
It was called Spider.
Okay. Can we watch it, or you have to be a part of it?
Yeah, I think it's available. But they were going to have Nash Edgerton be a part of the festival. That's why his short was playing there. But ultimately, what you see with his work across the whole spectrum is that it's always changing, but is always great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's very different every time. It's very different, but it's always great. And that's the thing that's weird, is that, a lot of DOPs, you can see their work. I can't see his work outside of the fact that it's just great.
Same. Yeah.
The shot choices and things, they're not consistent. They're just always great.
Yeah. His consistency is greatness, which is wild.
But it's not shot styles or a certain lens or whatever.
No.
It's
he goes spherical to anamorphic and then all over the place. And it's Foxcatcher. And you watch the work in there, you're like, whoa, what the hell? And then you jump to Dune, you're like, what? And it's just,
that's what I mean.
He's phenomenal. His influencers are really wonderful too. He's really influenced by some really special stills film photographers as well. I'll do my best to bring him on. I think it'd be amazing. Oh yeah.
Hey, listen, if you can't do it, you can't do it.
I'm going to try. I'm going to give it a go. I love you. I love you.
Me too, man. I love you too.
I'm so proud of you. That doesn't really mean anything, but
right back at you, man.
Some things have been happening. So no, I'm really proud of you. I'm so happy to see where you're taking all of this. I'm blessed that you exist and bring your art towards us and influence us and inspire us. So yeah. And the last thing I like to leave these episodes with is tell me something that you're thankful for. Something that you can go, okay, I'm thankful for that.
Health.
Yeah, it's a good one. I was thinking that, man. Or Stacy.
Yeah, of course, my wife.
Yeah,
but health is a huge one that we should all be thankful for.
Yeah,
that we can do the things that we can and are not hindered by things. And even when we have other parts of our body that works, and that we have those things and we can do things, because not everybody gets a chance to do anything. So, health and loved ones. Amen.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much. Dude, appreciate you.
Pleasure. I like how the light went down.
Oh yeah.
In the back.
I need to fix this. Yeah. I need to set up a proper camera and the lights, and I just don't want to do that whole thing. So yeah, it's a whole thing.
Dude.
Awesome. Okay, babies.
Well.
Yeah.
Stop.